So let's now look at the status bar in AutoCAD. Again, I've set up a drawing in our demo project, statusbar.dwg. So when you're looking at the work files for this particular video title, you look for the status bar drawing, and that'll be located in demo project. So let's have a look now at the status bar. Where is it on the AutoCAD screen? It's down at the bottom of the screen. Now, as you're working in the drawing area, if I move the crosshair or the cursor around, you can see it moving on the screen there. Notice the coordinate readout bottom left corner of the screen. That is part of your status bar, and it tells you the X and Y coordinates of the location of the cursor. Now, if we were working in 3D, creating a 3D structure or a 3D object, those coordinates are much more important. In AutoCAD Electrical, we're going to be creating 2D schematics of components, panels, and so on. So we won't really need to worry too much about our coordinate readouts. However, sometimes they may come into play to locate a certain circuit board, a certain master switch board, or a junction box, for example. It depends on the environment in which you're working. Moving along the status bar now to the right, you'll notice all of these icons along the bottom here. Now, these icons are your drafting settings, and they're one of the most fundamental tools within all versions of AutoCAD. They allow you to switch things on and off at any time. So I can be drawing away in my drawing here. I might zoom in on a certain area like so, and I might want to draw some lines. Now, I want the lines to snap exactly, say, from that corner there to that corner there. So I have to make sure that my object snaps are switched on. So I come down here like this, there's object snaps. I don't want 3D object snaps, it's that one there. Now you'll notice how these icons are very similar to each other. There's another setting for these drafting settings that I'll show you in a moment that will make your life a lot easier. I'll switch object snap on. There's my drafting settings. It prompts me which object snaps do I want to switch on. So I'll switch on endpoint, midpoint, and center, and also intersection and extension. Now, I will cover these object snaps in more detail later on in the course, so don't worry too much about them right now. Endpoint is the one I actually need, but I'll OK those that I've switched on. Up to the draw panel here, on the ribbon, I click on the line command. Now when I hover, there's my endpoint snap. So I'm snapping exactly to those corners, and then I press enter to confirm the line command like so. Job done. Now, I've drawn that line exactly. What would happen if I tried to do that without the object snaps on? So let's come down here, switch object snaps off, and try and draw that line again. I'll go on the other side, and I'll try and draw from there to there, and I'll press enter. Now, if I zoom in real close, that line doesn't touch that corner, and if I pan and zoom in there, that line doesn't touch that corner. So I'm completely inaccurate. So that line is useless. So I'll select it, hit the delete key, and I'll delete it. But you see what I mean? Those object snaps are extremely important. They're fundamental for the accuracy of your drawings. Let's lose that line there as well. That can go. I'll just delete that one too. And I'll zoom out again, and I'm back in my panel drawing like so. So those settings for the drafting settings are great, but when you look at those icons, if you're a new user especially, you don't quite know what they mean. So if you move over any of the buttons, the icon buttons, and right-click, a shortcut menu appears. Now, I've right-clicked over the object snaps, so there's all my object snaps there. I can switch them on and off there as well. But if I just click on this Use Icons setting, it turns all of the icon buttons into buttons with letters on. Now, this is the old classic setting. And I actually prefer this both as an instructor and as a user because it tells me exactly what those buttons do. OSnap is object snaps. It's easy. And when I switch it on, you can see there on the command line, it tells me that OSnap is on. If I click on it again, it tells me that OSnap is off. So those are your drafting settings, and we will cover those in a little bit more detail later on. Let's move along now. Notice we have a model button, and we also have here our model button again. Now, this model button here switches us between model space or what is known as paper space, the layout tabs. So if I click on model, you'll notice the environment changes. It takes me into the AutoCAD layout space, which is where I would normally plot my drawings. If I click on the paper button again, you'll notice it takes me into the model space, but looking through what they call a viewport. How do I get back out of this layout space? Well, I move outside the viewport and just double click to deactivate that first. I don't want that activated. What I can do is I can come down here. If I click on this button here, it takes me back to the model, like so. That's my model button. And here I've got my layout button. It takes me back to the layout again. So there's model and there's layout. Now you can also switch on little tabs that appear here. But also there's a new feature now in newer versions of AutoCAD. The drawing tab is up here. If I hover over it, you can see there's layout and model there as well. Just go slightly off the screen there due to my screen resolution, but don't worry. I can just hover over model there and click, takes me into the model space. If I hover over the status bar again, hover over the layout and click, takes me into the layout space. The nice thing about that is if I hover over that tab, model is always there and any layouts that I've got set up are always there. Very useful to move around in the drawing. I've also got down here on the status bar, quick view layouts, which is somewhat similar. There's my model, there's my layout, and I can close it there. If I've got multiple drawings, hover there. I've got one drawing open called status bar, hover there. There's the model, there's the layout. Again, I can close that by clicking on the cross there. There are some other settings moving along here which involve annotative scaling and also workspaces. We'll look at these in more detail as we work through the course.